In an era of great American change, Father Knows Best offered audiences a sense of comfort and unwavering certainty. However, the passage of time proved to be far less kind to the very stars who brought the show to life. She initially made a name for herself in the realm of rodeo dramas throughout the 1930s and 40s. It was her role as Ma Smiley on Gunsmoke, however, that made her voice instantly recognizable to millions of listeners. This widespread vocal recognition came long before her face gained similar familiarity on the small screen. When she made the leap to television, she found that the opportunities presented to her were often constrained. Time and again, Selby found herself typecast in supporting roles. She made guest appearances in iconic series like Bonanza and The Twilight Zone, consistently delivering reliable performances, yet seldom being the central focus of the story. This dependability ensured she remained a steadily working actress. However, it also cemented her professional path, permanently casting her as a secondary character. This recurring pattern would go on to define the entirety of her professional career throughout the 1960s and into the 1970s. She carried on with appearances in both film and television, with credits in movies such as Tower of London and Beyond the Forest. Selby successfully maintained consistent work in an industry that frequently valued a familiar face more than artistic reinvention. Her recognition in the industry was built on a foundation of trust and reliability rather than a collection of prestigious awards. Tragically, her life came to an end on January 7th, 1980, when she passed away from cancer in Los Angeles, California, at the age of 74. His professional path was forged within very restrictive confines. Upon entering Hollywood during the early 1950s, Vatio found himself consistently typecast for roles that were narrowly defined by his ethnicity and a limited range of occupations. His earliest credits included shows like The Lone Ranger and The Hitchhiker in 1953, where he successfully conveyed a powerful sense of dignity and presence despite minimal screen time. Television ultimately became his most prominent medium. Vatio made appearances in a wide array of westerns and dramas such as Gunsmoke and Perry Mason, frequently cast as a laborer, a villager, or one of the many supporting townspeople. These parts offered him steady employment, even as the creative variety was severely restricted by the casting biases of that time. Opportunities in film came far more selectively. In the 1960 classic The Magnificent Seven, Vatio played Miguel, a villager fighting to defend his home, a powerful performance that put him alongside a major ensemble of actors. His later work, including the Milagro Beanfield War in 1988, kept his career active well into his final decades. Natividad Vatio passed away on May 30th, 1996, at 83 years of age, from natural causes. He was laid to rest in a private ceremony attended by his family. Upon his death, his total estate was valued at around $600,000, which when adjusted for inflation is equivalent to approximately $1.5 million in 2026, a sum amassed over a long and consistent career in television and motion pictures. Next, Robert Falk as Ed Davis. Robert Falk was born on May 5th, 1908 in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. At the age of 46, he took on the role of Ed Davis, the sometimes cantankerous but fundamentally decent neighbor on Father Knows. Best apart, he played from 1954 to 1957. This role added a touch of realism to the show's idealized suburban world, permitting everyday disagreements to coexist with the overarching theme of family harmony. This particular on-screen persona emerged from his early professional limitations. Falk's tall, broad physique inevitably steered him toward playing authority figures from the very outset of his career. After pursuing a degree in architectural drafting at the University of Pennsylvania, he transitioned into theater and landed on Broadway in productions like What a Life and Brother Rat, where he honed the ability to sustain a performance through sheer discipline instead of critical acclaim. Television offered him steady visibility. Throughout the 1950s, Falk frequently showed up in a variety of anthology series. and westerns among them The Loretta Young Show and The Rifleman. These roles cemented his status as a highly dependable character actor, while his film parts, such as his role in Rebel Without a Cause in 1955, reinforced his public association with stern or rather imposing characters. As the television industry boomed, so too did his professional demands. Falk gathered more than 200 screen credits, moving seamlessly between sitcoms and popular westerns including Lassie and Bonanza. This continuous level of production required tremendous adaptability, especially given that series schedules were in constant flux and networks often replaced shows with little warning during that period. He sadly passed away on February 25th, 1989 at 80 years of age, old due to coronary artery disease, and was laid to rest in a private service. His estate's value was initially appraised at $800,000, which when adjusted to 2026 values is closer to $2 million, a testament to his decades of consistent work as a reliable character actor. Eleanor Audley in the role of Mrs. Prynne. Eleanor Audley entered the world on November 19, 1905 in Newark, New Jersey. At the age of 49, she took on the part of Mrs. Prynne, the sophisticated and sharp-witted neighbor on Father Knows Best from 1954 through 1960. This character introduced an element of social distinction and clever dry humor to the show, which enabled the series to delve into the dynamics of class and personality conflicts within its suburban setting. Her professional path was defined quite early by her circumstances. Audley began her career on the stage and in radio during the 1920s, steadily building her renown through Broadway shows like Susan and God. Radio ultimately proved to be her most powerful medium, where her commanding and articulate voice conveyed a sense of authority on popular broadcasts, including My Favorite Husband. That very voice would soon become her signature on screen. As Hollywood began to seriously invest in animation, Audley found herself frequently cast as formidable and antagonistic characters. Her portrayals of Lady Tremaine in 1950s, Cinderella, and the villainous Maleficent in Sleeping Beauty from 1959 cemented her public persona as a figure of elegant intimidation, a perception that directly influenced the type of roles she was offered in live-action television. The world of television provided her with a constant stream of employment. Audley made appearances in a host of major series such as The Dick Van Dyke Show, The Beverly Hillbillies, and Green Acres. She was typically cast as socially prominent women who maintained their power through incisive dialogue rather than physical force. This repetition solidified her fame, yet it also considerably restricted the variety of roles she was considered for. Eleanor Audley passed away on November 25, 1991, from respiratory failure at the age of 86. Her final resting place is Mount Sinai Memorial Park Cemetery in Los Angeles. At the time of her passing, her financial worth was assessed at $1.2 million, an amount that would be valued closer to $3 million when adjusted for 2026, a fortune amassed over many years of work in radio, television, and animation. Eleanor Donahue portraying Betty Anderson. Born in Tacoma, Washington on April 19, 1937, Eleanor Donahue was just 17 years of age when she began playing Betty Anderson, the conscientious eldest daughter of the clan. On Father Knows Best, a role she held from 1954 until 1960, her character provided the show with a necessary youthful perspective, positioning Betty as an intermediary between the established rules of her parents and the growing desire for teenage autonomy. Her professional journey started with extraordinary speed. Donahue was working in motion pictures and vaudeville at only 5 years old, taking on chorus parts and minor roles at an age when most children were just starting school. By the time she was in her early teens, she had already been featured in movies like Tea for Two and Love is Better Than Ever, which meant she spent her formative years on studio backlots instead of experiencing a conventional adolescence. Her success on television came quickly and remained intense. Although Father Knows Best brought her widespread fame, it also pigeonholed her in the eyes of casting directors. In 1960, she was cast in The Andy Griffith Show as Ellie Walker, the sheriff's love interest, but requested to be written out after just one season, a choice driven by her anxieties about her long-term viability in leading roles as she transitioned into adulthood. Eventually, stability won out over the initial pressures. Donahue maintained a consistent and productive career across both television and movies, with notable roles in Star Trek: The Odd Couple and later feature films. Pretty Woman in 1990. These significant roles ensured her career would successfully span multiple decades, giving her the crucial opportunity to completely reshape her public persona far beyond the initial image of a typical teenage daughter. At present, Eleanor Donahue is 89 years of age and has gracefully retired from the world of acting. She now leads a private life, making occasional appearances for retrospectives and interviews where she shares insights about television's classic era. Her financial legacy is estimated to be a net worth of around $3 million, a figure that stands as a testament to a lengthy career built on the foundations of early stardom, prudent decision-making, and remarkable staying power. Sam Flint, who portrayed Mr. Armstead, entered the world on October 19, 1882, in Gwinnett County, Georgia. By the age of 74, he stepped into the role of Mr. Armstead, a character defined by his stern demeanor and distinctly authoritative presence in a 1956 episode of Father Knows Best. Although his appearance was brief, his performance powerfully underscored the show's deep-seated respect for elders' established hierarchy and traditional old-world values, all set against the backdrop of an evolving suburban landscape. His own journey into acting was a gradual one. Flint's career began on the stage during the early part of the 20th century, where he honed his craft in various touring productions, before eventually becoming a part of the vibrant Los Angeles theater community. As the early 1930s arrived, he made the pivotal transition to film, a medium where his naturally composed demeanor and formal bearing made him an ideal candidate for playing dignified figures of authority. The world of cinema offered him consistent work. Over his career, Flint amassed credits in over 200 films, often being typecast as judges, bankers, respected doctors, and high-ranking military officers. Among his more notable appearances was a role in the classic It's a Wonderful Life, and parts in several Charlie Chan movies, solidifying a reputation where his professional reliability was valued more than star power. The advent of television served to extend his career's longevity even further, remarkably well into his 70s. Flint remained a working actor, appearing in a variety of series, including Perry Mason and a great number of popular westerns, managing to maintain a steady professional output even as his physical stamina naturally began to diminish. His very last role on screen was in the unconventional film Head, released in 1968, a project that marked the conclusion of a remarkable career that stretched from the silent film era all the way to counterculture cinema. Sam Flint passed away on October 17, 1980, at the advanced age of 97 due to causes related to his age. His interment was a private affair. At the time of his passing, his personal net worth was initially estimated at $400,000, a sum that when adjusted for inflation would be equivalent to $1.5 million in 2026, a fortune that perfectly reflects a lifetime of work founded on a high volume of roles, incredible endurance, and unwavering professional dependability. Portraying Dodie Snow was Yvonne Lime, who was born on April 7, 1935 in the city of Glendale, California. At the young age of 19, she took on the part of Dodie Snow, the spirited and vibrant best friend of Betty Anderson, known for her fashionable sense in Father Knows Best, for a run that lasted from 1954 until 1959. Her character was significant in expanding the show's portrayal of the teenage world, and she perfectly embodied the optimism and vibrant social energy that defined the youth culture of the 1950s. Following her graduation from high school, her acting career took off rapidly. Lime honed her skills with training at the prestigious Pasadena Playhouse before making her transition into the world of film, securing appearances in movies such as The Rainmaker and the cult classic I Was a Teenage Werewolf in 1957. In that very same year, she had a role alongside the legendary Elvis Presley in Loving You, a part which positioned her directly at the center of the teen film explosion of that era. Her work in television only served to reinforce this popular image. Lime found consistent employment across a range of sitcoms and dramas, which included a memorable spot on The George Burns and Gracie Allen Show, as well as Dobie Gillis. While being cast in youthful roles brought her considerable public visibility, this focus also meant that as the entertainment industry began to change, more mature adult roles became progressively harder for her to find. A significant marriage ultimately redirected the course of her life. In 1969, she wed the influential producer Don Fedderson, a decision that prompted her to step away from her acting career. She then joined forces with her friend Sarah O'Meara, and together Lime co-founded the organization Child Help, choosing to dedicate the rest of her life to advocating on behalf of abused and deeply neglected children, a profound mission that would later earn her and her partner multiple nominations for the Nobel Peace Prize. Yvonne Lime passed away on January 23, 2026, at the age of 90, surrounded by the comfort of her home in Paradise Valley, Arizona. Her burial was a private and quiet ceremony, away from the public eye. At the moment of her passing, her estate was valued at an estimated $2 million, a figure that illustrates a life which evolved from Hollywood prominence to one of enduring humanitarian work. The pressures of his career grew more intense as his success mounted. Reed earned nationwide fame as Mike Brady in The Brady Bunch from 1969 to 1974, a part that cemented his status as another quintessential television father. Concurrently, he frequently battled with producers over scripts that he deemed to be superficial, even as his professional image was being distilled into a single persona from which he could never break free. His personal life only amplified the pressure. In 1954, Reed married Marilyn Rosenberger, and they welcomed one daughter before their marriage ended in divorce in 1959, upholding a public image of a heterosexual. Marriage, while privately navigating life as a gay man, created an enduring emotional conflict which fed his isolation even while his professional stature remained incredibly high. Acclaim for his dramatic talents came much later with ventures such as Roots in 1977, which garnered him an Emmy nomination. Robert Reed passed away on May 12, 1992, at 59 years of age from colorectal cancer with HIV-related complications listed as a contributing issue. He was laid to rest in a private ceremony with scarce public mention of the full circumstances at that time. His approximate net worth was $7 million, and he left a legacy characterized by deep contradictions, a veneer of public perfection, a hidden personal struggle, and a life concluded far too soon. Next is Lauren Chapin as Cathy Anderson. Lauren Chapin was born on May 23, 1945, in the city of Los Angeles, California. At just 9 years of age, she was cast as Cathy Anderson, the headstrong and very candid youngest daughter on Father Knows Best from 1954 until 1960. Her portrayal gave the series a remarkable energy and innocence, positioning Cathy as a cherished emotional anchor within the Anderson family. Her ascent to stardom began far too early. Chapin was introduced to Hollywood as a young child while she was still developing fundamental personal boundaries, showing up not only on Father Knows Best, but also in films like the 1954 version of A Star Is Born. The routines of childhood were replaced by long hours on film sets, and adult situations became her normal reality before she was able to truly understand them. Fame came at a terrible hidden cost. During the show's run and afterward, Chapin was a victim of sexual abuse, a deep trauma that profoundly warped her sense of identity. As she outgrew her child roles, she was severely typecast, which restricted her opportunities, while the industry gave her very little help in navigating the difficult move to adult acting. This instability was reflected in her personal life. Chapin was married for the very first time at 16, a choice that resulted in a failed marriage and was followed by a string of deeply destructive relationships. In the midst of this, her substance abuse problems began to intensify over time, which led to a harrowing struggle with addiction and periods of incarceration, effectively severing her ties with the Hollywood community almost entirely. She ultimately found recovery through her faith. Chapin painstakingly rebuilt her life, documenting her ordeal in the autobiography Father Does Know Best, the Lauren Chapin story. In 1989, and eventually became an ordained evangelist and minister. Today, at 81 years old, she lives a quiet life with an estimated net worth of $1 million, accumulated from residuals her writing and speaking engagements that focus on survival and redemption. Billy Gray as Bud Anderson. Billy Gray was brought into the world on January 13, 1938, in Los Angeles, California. At the young age of 16, he portrayed Bud Anderson, the spirited and outspoken son within the family on Father Knows Best from 1954 until 1960. His excellent performance injected humor and realism into the show, perfectly capturing the restless spirit of post-war American youth. His career began very early and progressed swiftly. Gray started in films when he was just 5 years old and was featured in significant productions, including the science fiction classic The Day the Earth Stood Still in 1951. Studio tutors took the place of classrooms, and demanding shooting schedules replaced normal childhood activities, keeping him immersed on film sets rather than in the company of his peers. The fame from television arrived at a particularly pivotal age for him. Although Father Knows Best earned him Emmy recognition, it also typecast him in the public's mind as a youthful character. In 1962, his acting career's momentum was disrupted by an arrest for marijuana possession, which drastically diminished his chances of transitioning into adult roles within the Hollywood mainstream. A completely new chapter in his life followed. Gray redirected his ambition toward the exhilarating world of competitive motorcycle racing, becoming a distinguished Class A speedway racer and promoter for more than 2 decades. He later ventured into invention and business, successfully developing products like the F1 guitar pick, thereby expanding his creative endeavors well beyond the entertainment industry. Now Billy Gray is 88 years old and makes his home in Topanga, California. He continues to lead an active life as a collector, an inventor, and an occasional public speaker. His estimated net worth stands at $2 million, built from acting residuals, his racing ventures, and his various independent business pursuits. Next, Barbara Eden as Marge. The iconic Barbara Eden was born on August 23, 1931 in Tucson, Arizona. At 23 years of age, she portrayed Marge, a young woman who appeared briefly as part of the Anderson social circle, in an episode of Father Knows Best in 1954. This role came early in her television career, positioning her within the flourishing landscape of post-war sitcoms. Her formative years were profoundly shaped by considerable instability. Eden came of age during the Great Depression, relocating frequently with her mother after her parents divorced. Music was her gateway into performing, leading to formal vocal training and work in theater, before television roles began to materialize, including appearances on The Johnny Carson Show. Her career's momentum built consistently. Eden made a smooth transition into film roles, such as in Flaming Stare in 1960, alongside the legendary Elvis Presley, and Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea in 1961. This phase of her career was crucial in establishing her widespread visibility across different genres, and effectively set the stage for her most celebrated and defining role. International stardom arrived with I Dream of Jeannie, which aired from 1965 to 1970. The show's immense success defined her public persona and brought her lasting international fame, but it also consequently limited her casting options for more serious dramatic parts. Despite her later work in Harper Valley PTA and numerous television films, the expectation for her to play comedic roles proved to be persistent. Today, Barbara Eden is 95 years old and still makes appearances at fan events and special retrospectives. She lives happily with her husband John. She would forever bear the profound sorrow of losing her son, Matthew Ansara, to a tragic overdose in the year 2001. Her financial standing is estimated at a substantial $10 million, a fortune accumulated through a lengthy career in television and a film, supplemented by residuals, and honored with a permanent star on the iconic Hollywood Walk of Fame. Now for Roberta Shaw, who portrayed Joyce Kendall. Born on April 7, 1943 in Monterey Park, California, Roberta Shaw was just 13 years old when she took on the role of Joyce Kendall Bud Anderson's girlfriend in Father Knows. Best back in 1956, her character was instrumental in broadening the show's teenage-focused narratives, injecting a fresh dose of youthful romantic drama. Her professional journey started at a young age, and her rise was remarkably swift. Shaw first entered the entertainment world as a singer and performer, before smoothly transitioning to roles in film and television while still in her childhood. Her work in Disney productions, like The Shaggy Dog in 1959, helped establish her within family-friendly cinema. The medium of television further amplified her visibility. Shaw made frequent appearances across a variety of hit series and landed the recurring part of Betsy Garth on the celebrated show The Virginian, a role she held from 1962 to 1965. This engagement brought her both stability and widespread acclaim during an era when westerns were the undisputed kings of primetime television. However, a significant life change was on the horizon. In her early 20s, Shaw made the pivotal decision to step away from Hollywood, choosing to prioritize her marriage and family. In a bold move, she broke her contract, made a new home in Utah, and deliberately shifted her focus to personal aspirations over the continuation of her screen work. Presently, Roberta Shaw is 83 years old and enjoys a quiet existence in Utah. She still maintains a connection to her enduring legacy in classic television, with occasional public appearances and interviews. Her wealth is estimated at $3 million, a figure reflecting a career that she consciously concluded at its peak, rather than one that simply faded. Beneath the wholesome facade and picture-perfect lessons of Father Knows Best, the actual lives of the cast navigated trajectories far more turbulent than television ever dared to portray. Celebrity arrived at a young age, the pressures mounted rapidly, and for many the price was paid through quiet suffering, heartbreak, and profound tragedy. Which actor's transformation has impacted you the most? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and be sure to like and subscribe so you can uncover more startling truths from the hidden world behind the scenes of classic Hollywood.